We are live. We are live. Welcome to Sunday Night College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football, and I mean everything in college football. And if you love everything in college football, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and your friends. If you want to support this college football's rebel outpost with a donation, hit the $sign where you make a comment, and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Everybody is welcome into the studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend. With your comments in the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show. I appreciate you all coming on in. It's a Sunday evening, and I'm looking at what we're going to talk about tonight. And there is a very good chance, once again, the most unpopular college football YouTube channel in the country is going to get everybody upset in the chat room at least one time during the monologue. So buckle up, brace for impact. There is no unicorn, rainbows, and bunnies running around in the yard, running through the studio. I'm just going to tell you how I see it. Now, we've got a lot to get through tonight. We're going to have a good time talking about college football. First of all, before we get into that, I just want to give my prayers and thoughts and good wishes to the Carter family, President Jimmy Carter, and all his loved ones. You've been a faithful servant. Job well done. And we know that our former president, passed away at an age of 100 years old. 100 years old, the longest living president in our nation's history. Job well done. Good, faithful servant, President Jimmy Carter. We're going to start off with that. Number 2, Jimmy Rogers. Jimmy Rogers. I have given the Washington State Cougars fans a whole lot of bad news since the start of this YouTube channel. We used to have Cougar fans in the PATC family. I gave them the bad news about the Big 12 poaching. The chances were very high. The chances were growing. I gave them the bad news that Washington State and Oregon State were not candidates for a Big 12 expansion. At least that's what we were told. I have not been able to give Washington State Cougar fans very good peek around the corners. Every time I peek around the corner, every single time for the Washington State Cougars, it's just been bad news. And I haven't done it because I dislike Washington State. I do, but I dislike Washington State as much as every other 134 FBS schools, except for I have special distaste for the Hawkeyes and the Badgers and no distaste for my beloved Golden Gophers. But Washington State is right with the 131 of you. 131 of you. But I haven't been going after Washington State. It just so happens that I've not been able to present positive peaks around the college football corner for the Washington State Cougars until tonight. Jimmy Rogers. Let me tell you about Jimmy Rogers. Thank you, Ricky Tungate. How was your Xmas, my new friend? It was good. It was very good. I have been very busy, extremely busy, with family and obligations. I can't even remember the last time I went on live. I think it was the Kansas State Rutgers watch party. I was not able to do watch parties on Saturday. I've been extremely busy, but it's been pretty good. Pretty good. Not all good. I mean, life gets in the way, I got to tell you, but we're holding up well. We're ready to get into the college football playoffs. We're going to be making our predictions tonight. I would rather just pass in all 4 games. This is the least confident I have been all season. And I'm coming off a 3-1 against the spread in the first round. The PATC geniuses, you guys went 2-2. I went 3-1. You would think I'd be boisterous. You'd think I would be full of confidence. You'd think I would be doing Greg the Gold music. No, I'm not. I'm not going to do Greg the Gold music. I'm intimidated. I'm absolutely floored at the lines of these 4 games. I have got no clue on what is going to happen. Yes, college football's peek around the corner. You would think I would at least pretend. And I often do when it comes to picking against the spread. But I can't even do that. I think these 4... I think Las Vegas, the lines have made it oh so difficult. But we're going to get into it. You guys are going to pick first. I'm going to watch what you PATC geniuses do with the 4 playoff quarterfinal games. I'm going to watch. And then I got a quarter with me. I might flip a quarter on a couple of these games. We shall see. We shall see. Thank you, Ricky Tungate. I hope your holidays, your Christmas and everything was great for your family and your loved ones. Thank you once again for your generosity. I do very much appreciate it. I'm very humbled by it. Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much. Stormy Cyclone. After what I spent in Florida this weekend, this feels like a tip. Wow. Stormy Cyclone. Iowa State Cyclones defeat the Miami Hurricanes. We're going to be talking about bowl results as well. A big win for Iowa State. 11 wins. 11 wins. Holy smokes. What a season for the Iowa State Cyclones. Unbelievable. Thank you, Stormy Cyclone, for your super chat. I do appreciate it so very much. Jimmy Rogers, the new head coach of Washington State. I get it. Washington State lost their coach. They lost their offensive coordinator. They lost their quarterback, John Mateer, the real Johnny Football. He's going to be QB1 at Oklahoma. He's going to be dazzling people in Norman, Oklahoma. But Jimmy Rogers. On X, I gave it an A+ higher. That is the grade I'm giving Washington State. I don't know if Jimmy Rogers is going to be able to bring, I don't know what type of talent, what type of recruiting chops he's going to have. It might not work. It might not work. But I'm still going to give it an A+. Because I don't know what type of Jimmys and Joes that are going to go to Pullman and play. In this new landscape, in the new pack, whatever they're going to end up calling it, beginning in 2026, they're going to be a quasi-conference member. They're really an independent program for next year, 2025. I do not know what Jimmys and the Joes are going to go to Pullman, but I do know this. Jimmy Rogers knows the X's and the O's. Jimmy Rogers is a defensive savant. We are going to be talking about Washington State through the offseason. We're going to look at what they can do here late in the portal season, late in spring, portal action. But Jimmy Rogers, if you watch South Dakota State Jackrabbits, like I have, on defense, if you're going to play for Jimmy Rogers, you're going to have a very high IQ. Kind of reminds me of playing for Phil Parker at Iowa. You better know how to play. You better know how to recognize. You better have recognition. You better be able to move in and out of defensive audibles. South Dakota State Jackrabbits had so much pre-snap motion, especially along their defensive line. They confused the hell out of people. This year they did not have the talent, but they still made it far. But they weren't competitive in their P4 games. But over the years, I have watched. I went to a Minnesota, South Dakota State first game of the season, 2019. That's the year that Minnesota finished number 10 in the country on the last polls. 11-2. But against Jimmy Rogers, they were so damn confused. That is when Jimmy Rogers was the defensive coordinator. And now he's been a head coach the last couple of years. He's been absolutely brilliant. So Washington State, you've got your good news. Finally, you've got your good news. And it's such good news, in my opinion, that we started the Sunday night show with that news. Jimmy Rogers to the Washington State Cougars, Pullman, Washington. That is an A+ hire, in my opinion. It's a little risky, maybe. You don't know how he's going to recruit, maybe. But the guy knows football on the defensive side of the field. That's number one. We're going to get into the bowl results. Then we're going to go into predictions, the 4 quarterfinal games. And then we've got an update. We've got an update in the Holy Smokes Theater. We don't quite have it absolutely nailed down, but something has happened. Something is going to happen. And we believe is going to be announced since we know some of the particulars, we think it's going to be announced sometime in January. But we'll let's just get to it. We'll get to it at the back end of the monologue. The Holy Smokes Theater, there's an update. Some sort of spring meeting is going to occur at a location possibly near you. We shall see. We shall see. Okay, my goodness, Anthony Carlson, Mr. Spartans. Here we go for the quarterfinals. Also January 5th, Greg. The game to decide the NFC North. Go green. No! Go green. Go Lions. Holy smokes. Detroit. Now, Anthony Carlson, your head coach, he said it a couple times in public. The Lions are playing their starters tomorrow night, Monday Night Football. I don't know if that's too smart. I don't think you want to play your starters. I think you want to come in fresh to play the Minnesota Vikings in Detroit. Thank you for being a Cloak and Dagger member for 9 months. Holy smokes, Anthony Carlson. And thanks again for your generosity throughout those 9 months. You are hereby, without question, knighted Cloak and Dagger once again. Thank you, Mr. Anthony Carlson, Michigan State. Go green, go Lions. Now, the loser of that game, Detroit and Minnesota, are going to be the 5th seed. The 5th seed. Even though they're going to have the second best record in the NFC conference. That's sports. That is sports. I just wish my fellow college football fans would be able to grasp that. Would be able to grasp that. Maybe not the top seeded teams are going to be, or the top rated teams are going to be the highest seeded teams, because we have to keep the importance of conference champions in the mix, in my humble belief. I know a lot of you disagree with me. A lot of you disagree with me. I put up a post on my X account a couple days ago. There was Goldilocks tasting the last bowl of porridge, and she says, this is just right. And that is my opinion as well. A college football playoffs of 8 teams or less is too hot. A college football playoffs of 14 or more is too cold. But a college football playoffs of 12 teams is just right. But it's not going to stay that way. It's going to expand. It is going to expand. Okay. Let's get to it. Thank you guys for coming on in. I appreciate it. Our web is here, the Big Lubbock, Jared Jones, Mr. Buckeye, Nick Kelso, Jose, USC coming off a big bowl victory. Bill G's in the house. Charlie Atwood, yes, we are. Dave B, still love Ratzlaff. Happy holidays. BYU gets a big win over Colorado. Randy Taylor is in the house. Nathan Campbell is here. Immaculate is in the house. Sam Kim, no indication underdogs can win this week. Is that so? No indication underdogs can win this week. We'll see about that. We shall see about that. Espestox is in the house. Dogs and Dubs is here. Our web, Heartbreak 25. Don't be afraid to cheer for the Nittany Lions to beat the evil Mustangs. Is the Bronco wearing the glass slipper? The glass slipper? Is the Bronco Cinderella? We shall see. We shall see. Doug watches Iowa State. Thanks for coming on in. I appreciate it. Friends call me Sean. Thank you for coming here. B Bean is in the house. Arizona State Devil James Foster is here. Oh, he's getting ready. James Foster is getting ready for the biggest college football game in Arizona State football history. Immaculate says, I think Boise State has a better shot at beating Penn State than Arizona State does against Texas. Connecticut fan is in the house. Benjamin Cask, Pac-12 update, media deal and expansion. I've got neither. I have not had an update for months. And I've been honest. As you've noticed, there hasn't been any news for months. I don't think there was any news. And if there is, I don't have it. But not of a lack of trying, just everyone is saying we don't know. I don't know if the Pac-12 knows yet, but they're going to have to, that's going to have to get resolved here pretty soon, right? And if we got anything, I'm going to share it, but I don't have anything. Vox Quindardo is in the house. Thanks for coming on in. Matt Schnuck is here, infamous front runner. Mick Stevens, TCU, is in the house, the architect. If Boise gets rolled, P5 is in big trouble. Yeah, I think you mean G5. I think you mean G5. Should BYU have been in the playoffs instead of SMU? I know Greg does not like questions like that. I'm fine with questions like that. I'm fine with questions like that, but my answer is not going to change based upon bowl games. So right away, I've got everybody upset, or a lot of people upset. My who I think should be in, should not be, does not change based upon the result of bowl games. When Florida State lost to Georgia last year, 63-3 or whatever it was, it did not change a bit. It had nothing to do with the argument. Florida State should have been in the playoffs. 13-0, Florida State, in my opinion, should have been in the playoffs because there is no way under God's green earth, there is no way that a 13-0 Big Ten team who lost their starting quarterback, a 13-0 SEC team that lost their starting quarterback, there's no way those two teams would not go into the 14 playoffs. There's no way. I've been saying this. I think Florida State got absolutely screwed. Absolutely screwed. So these bowl games do not change my opinion. And I believe the committee got it right. But I will say this. There is a good argument for 5 of those teams. A real good argument. And I think it was real close and reasonable. People can disagree. I just happen to think that people should be consistent. If you're consistent and you come up with a different rationale, a different team, that's fine. I think South Carolina had a real good argument. I think BYU had a real good argument. I think Alabama had somewhat of a weak argument. I think Ole Miss had a weak argument. But all reasonable people can think any of those teams should have been into the playoffs. I just happen to think they got the 12 correct. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. Because the teams that did not quite make it, they just missed out by that much. And SMU squeezed in by that much. And Indiana squeezed in by that much. It was very, very close. Very close. Very close. In fact, the committee said it was very close. But what happened? The committee said before the college championship games happened, they came out and said, we're not going to penalize the teams that lost in the championship game, the conference championship games, if it was a competitive game. And when SMU lost by a last-second field goal, it sealed the deal. They were going to get in my opinion. But it was close. It was very, very close because Kansas beat SMU. Kansas had a little bit of a better strength of schedule, just a touch better. One team was 10-2, the other was 11-1. SMU went to the championship game and lost by a last-second field goal. And BYU had the Kansas at home loss. That's it. The difference was that much. If BYU would have been in, I would have been fine with that as well. I would have. South Carolina was one hell of a team at the end of the season. One hell of a team. And if they wouldn't have lost to Alabama, or if they wouldn't have gotten screwed by the refs in the LSU game, South Carolina would have been in before SMU, in my opinion. So there's a lot of things. So close, so close, so close. But the results of the bowl games doesn't change my opinion. I do think the bowl games are important, can be important for the program, for the players that play in it, for the fans, but not for determining much more than that. And I'm going to get into that. I am going to get into that. I will get into it. Curtis, let the fur fly, bring on the cold, separates the men from the boys. Merry Christmas, PATC. Ho, 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 ho. Thank you, Curtis. I appreciate it, Mr. Wolverine. I thank you for your generosity so very much. Thank you, very kind, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being around here, being part of the PATC family since since we started. Thank you, Curtis. Appreciate it very much. Vox, holy smokes. Wow. I appreciate that, Vox. Thank you for your incredible generosity to the show. Once again, Mr. Jayhawk. R.I.P. Jimmy Carter. Yes, we started the show. The first thing we said, we started on live. Rest in peace. We pray for the family of Jimmy Carter. We know that Jimmy Carter is going to be just fine where he's going. For those who believe, we believe that Jimmy Carter is just fine. It's the rest of the family that needs to be held tight. We appreciate it. Appreciate all the prayers to the Jimmy Carter family. Longest, oldest president ever, 100 years old, Jimmy Carter. Thank you, Vox. I appreciate it. Appreciate the super chat. Appreciate it so very much. Thank you, Vox. Thank you so much. I never said that he did a great job, G. Brew. I definitely did not say that. I do not believe Jimmy Carter was a very good president, but that has absolutely nothing to do with Jimmy Carter, his soul and his family. He served this country. He threw his hat in the ring at a very difficult time, by the way. With Richard Nixon resignation, about to get kicked out of office. Very difficult time when Jimmy Carter defeated Gerald Ford in a very close election. None of my statements has to do with anything about politics. And I would say the same thing for any current president that is alive when they pass away. All of them, any of them. So it had nothing to do with any of that. Okay, thank you, Vox. Appreciate it so very much. Thank you, very kind sir. Appreciate it. Okay, let's get to it, guys. Let's get to it. Bowl games. What does it all mean? What does it all mean? Well, since we're talking about, let's just start with the ACC. Now, this is where I'm going to get everybody mad at me. But that's fine. That's what this show is all about. The most unpopular college football YouTube channel in the country. By surveys. The ACC's not having a good bowl season. In fact, I think it's probably the worst of all time for a major conference. I think they're 1-9 or something like that. I will tell you though, and I'm not going to the ACC's not having a good bowl season. Okay? We all can agree with that. But, there are some real positive stories coming out of the ACC this year, going into the offseason. I know you think I'm crazy. I get it. Maybe I am crazy. UNLV defeated California. I think California took a big hit by losing for Fernando Mendoza, as he's going to be the quarterback of Indiana. Clemson loses to Texas in the playoff game. I think Dabo Swinney might have received a little bit more juice after the season. I mean, they've got two freshman wide receivers coming back next year. I don't know, man. I maybe there's some maybe there's some rejuvenation going down there in South Carolina, Clemson. Maybe. You've got the SMU story. First year in a Power 4 conference, first year in the ACC, and look what they accomplished. Look at what SMU accomplished. I don't know. I mean, they got beat pretty bad by Penn State. Well, I mean, that, a lot of us, a lot of teams get beat by Penn State. Just ask this Golden Gopher. But again, it's a very positive season for SMU. Now, unfortunately, I cannot say the same thing about Pittsburgh. That is a tough season. You win your first 7 games, you lose your next 6 games. Yeah, you've got yourself a hole here in the offseason. No question about it. Look at Syracuse. Fran Brown, I mean, I can make an argument that Fran Brown should be number 2 on the National College Head Coach of the Year award. A runner-up. Look what Fran Brown look what he did at Syracuse. Year 1. My goodness. Now, they're the ACC team that won their bowl game, right? But there's an incredible amount of positivity around the Syracuse football program. Even Georgia Tech, yeah, they got beat by Vanderbilt, but Georgia Tech, they're alive. They are alive. They're alive. They've got some grit to that team. We'll see. We'll take it to the offseason. We'll see what they've got going into 2025. But I think at least this is a full step upward for the Rambling Wreck of Georgia Tech. I believe that. I'm sorry. I do. And then Miami, 10-3. Look, Miami had a wonderful season. Half on the offensive side of the ball, they were a national championship type of football team. Right? On the defensive side of the ball, I'm guessing they're going to throw some money. I'm guessing they're going to throw some real energy towards the defensive side of the ball. They're going to have a lot of work to do. Of course, they lose Cam Ward and Restrepo and all the great players. And I'm guessing they lose Damian Martinez. I think he has one more year left of eligibility. I might be wrong on that. I think he has one more, but I could be wrong. It was an exciting season. Miami, my gosh, every game, you could never count them out, but they had defensive issues. And they know that, and, we'll see what happens here. I'm guessing they're going to get awfully aggressive in the spring portal because, the portal, when it comes open after the spring football, there's going to be another wave. There's going to be another wave. Miami Hurricanes, an exciting season. North Carolina, Bill Belichick. Do I have to say more? Do I have to say more? Bill Belichick, all eyes and ears and exposure on North Carolina, which is going to help the ACC. And then you got Boston College. If they would have won that 8th game, that would have been the first 8-win season at Boston College since 2009. So Bill O'Brien did a great job. That's what I'm talking about. The ACC is 1-9. Not good. Not good. And I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna say differently. But the individual stories of almost every one of these teams is very positive. Although there are exceptions, right? We talked about one of the exceptions, Pittsburgh, and the other one is, of course, the victim. The victim of the cooler North Carolina State. Lost to East Carolina Pirates. North Carolina State, I apologize. Again, I apologize. I fell in love with you, Wolfpack, and I brought you down to your knees. And I don't know where they go from here. So that is North Carolina State, Pittsburgh are the stories. I don't know what's going to happen next year. Louisville and Washington. Louisville's favored by a little bit over Washington. They play Tuesday. Duke and Ole Miss play Thursday. And again, Duke. 9-win season. Manny Diaz first year. Right? Right? I mean, and of course, they got Menshaw, the quarterback from Tulane, who I happen to think is a total full step or two better than Malik Murphy. So there's a lot of things going on at Duke football. Another positive story. And Louisville's a positive story. And Virginia Tech, as they get ready to get waxed by my beloved Golden Gophers on Friday, January 3rd. So again, look, call me crazy. Call me a lunatic. I understand. I get it. ACC's 1-9. Terrible bowl record. Did not do good. But there are individual stories in there that I think are going to be interesting to watch through the offseason. And of course, we got other ACC stories that we got to get to. The new media contract and everything else that's going to be happening here in ACC country. We are going back in the Holy Smokes Theater by the end of the monologue tonight. We do have an update to provide. Not a whole lot of details, but a definite update, a definite hot bubble of action update in the Holy Smokes Theater. But I do get it. The ACC, not good, but a whole lot of positivity. Whole lot of positivity. Okay. Now, let me get to more bowl action. We're going to go through the bowl results, and then we're going to make our predictions for the playoff games, and then we're going to go into the Holy Smokes Theater. We go to the Big 12 next. West Virginia loses 42-37. Rich Rodriguez has come home, and he gets his defensive coordinator. They take him away from Oklahoma. Holy smokes. Now West Virginia's got to get busy in the portal. They got to get busy in the portal, especially in the springtime. But the Mountaineers are setting up. They're setting up for Rich Rodriguez, number 2. Kansas State defeats Rutgers 44-41. Avery Johnson. Dylan Edwards was a superstar in that game. Avery Johnson, now he got his first full year in as a starter. Can Kansas State Wildcats compete for the Big 12 championship next year? We shall see. Texas Tech got rolled by Arkansas. And again, Texas Tech Red Raiders, they've been busy in the portal. Red Raiders got to get some defense better this year. They got to step it up to a whole new level to compete for the Big 12 championship next year. But the Red Raider fans are excited. Iowa State with their first 11-win season. 42-41 over Miami. Holy smokes. An incredible season for the Cyclones. BYU, an incredible season for the Cougars. 36-14 over Colorado. A lot of momentum being built up in Provo. Spectacular season for the BYU Cougars. They just missed going to the Big 12 championship game. By an eyelash. By an eyelash. TCU 34, Louisiana 3. TCU win bigs and they win 9 games. 9 games. 8 during the regular season. What was TCU's Las Vegas number for over-under? What was their win total? I tell you what, it wasn't 8. It wasn't 7, I don't believe. Baylor, and again, Baylor, a rejuvenated Baylor Bears. 8-4 are going to be playing LSU. And of course, the Arizona State Sun Devils playoff game. Texas, we're going to be making our predictions here real soon. Hang on tight. The 4 playoff games. PATC geniuses are going to pick first. And then I'm going to pick second. The Big Ten bowl results. Indiana loses 27-17. Notre Dame was too much, too strong, too fast. That defense executed too well. Notre Dame going to be going against Georgia, and we're going to be doing our picks here just real soon. Penn State wins their playoff game 38-10. They went on and rolled. The Buckeyes crushed the Volunteers. We're going to be talking about the Buckeyes here in a little bit. Rutgers goes down 44-41. USC wins an exciting game, 35-31. Even though they were without a bunch of offensive weapons. Maeva might be the guy next year for USC. He's got some moxie. He definitely has some talent. The UNLV transfer from last year. USC, he came in as QB number 2. He's going to be coming in as QB number 1. And Nebraska gets their first winning season since 2016. The Cornhuskers 20, Boston College 15. Dylan Raiola, watch for Dylan Raiola in his second year next year. Iowa, Missouri, Alabama, Michigan, Louisville, Washington, South Carolina, Illinois, Penn State, Boise State, Ohio State, Oregon, Minnesota, Virginia Tech. There's a lot of Big Ten bowl games left to go. And now we're going to get into the SEC results. SEC results. Tulane, Florida. Florida crushes Tulane 33-8. Texas 38-24 as Texas goes on to play Arizona State. We're going to be talking about that in a minute. Tennessee falls big to the Buckeyes 42-17. Oklahoma loses to Navy 21-20. But again, Oklahoma Sooner fans, Johnny Football, John Mateer is coming to Norman. Buckle up, brace for impact. I think he's going to be outstanding for Oklahoma. Just got to watch that Oklahoma wide receiver room. It was depleted this year. So during the offseason, we'll see how that firms up for the Sooners. But John Mateer, Art Bunko, the offensive coordinator, all at Norman, Vanderbilt 35-27. Diego Pavia coming back for another year for the Commodores. Vanderbilt bowl win, a winning season, an incredible season for the Vanderbilt Commodores. Arkansas, Taylon Green, he's coming back next year. The Razorback quarterback is coming back next year, giving hope to the Hogs. They defeat Texas Tech 39-26. Texas A&M goes down 35-31. Is Marcel Reed the quarterback? I guess he's going to be the quarterback. But can he be a quarterback that leads the Aggies to the SEC championship or to finish in the top 4 to where they are candidate for the college football playoffs? Can Marcel Reed do that? I have my doubts. I have my doubts. Iowa, Missouri, Monday, tomorrow. Alabama plays Michigan. South Carolina Gamecocks, an incredible football season. A great football season for the Gamecocks. Going against the Fighting Illini, Illinois. LSU plays Baylor. And we all know that Coach Kelly has promised LSU winning the national title next year. Holy smokes. And Texas, Arizona State, Georgia, Gunner Stockton, Notre Dame. We'll talk about that in a minute. So there are the bowl results. I just wanted to go through that real quick. We are going to be doing a Tuesday night watch party. Penn State, Boise State. Yes, we are. I don't know what we're going to do on Wednesday yet. But we're definitely doing a watch party Tuesday night. So come join us 2 nights from now. Penn State, Boise State. Tech had a true, yes, you did. True freshman at QB. We don't play defense in Lubbock. Lots of new faces coming to Lubbock. Yes, there is. The Red Raider fans are very excited about what they've done in the portal, and I think they should be. Hold on for just one moment. And then we're going to get into the predictions, the college football playoff predictions. And you guys are going first. The PATC geniuses are going first. Not me. I'm too scared to go first. I got to tell you. I think this is going to be rough. I think this is going to be real rough. My record in the playoffs is 3-1 against the spread. Last year was 3-0. So I've got some tailwind here. I got some momentum. You guys are 2-2. But I look at these lines and I think Vegas has pretty much nailed them. I don't see any obvious. I don't see anything obvious. Okay, here we go. Here we go, guys. Come on. Let's do this thing. First game on the list. Then after we do the prediction segment, we are going to go into the Holy Smokes Theater. Holy Smokes Theater. We've got a peek. We've got a peek of a hot bubble of action. Now, for a lot of you who've been part of the PATC family for over the last year, you know when I say a hot bubble of action, it has a certain connotation to it. I cannot go into the real details of it, and we're missing some of the details of it, but I can give you some wink, wink, nod, nod, holy smokes theater. Okay, we'll get into that in a little bit. Penn State, Boise State. The Nittany Lions are favored by 11 points. 11 points. 11 points. Cinderella! Is she knocking on the door? Well, we'll see what the PATC family, the geniuses out there, think first. Does Penn State cover the minus 11 point spread versus Boise State? If you vote yes, you're taking Penn State. If you're voting no, you're taking the 11 in Boise State. The voting begins now. The PATC geniuses voting on this. It's close. 5 more seconds on the vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 58% says yes on Penn State. The PATC family says Cinderella is not showing up for this one. No way. PATC takes Penn State. Wow. We're just going to go on to the next one. Okay? We're going to go on to the next one here. Does Texas cover the minus 12.5 point spread versus Arizona State? If you vote yes, you're taking the Longhorns and you're giving 12.5. If you vote no, you're taking the 12.5 and taking the Sun Devils. The voting begins now. Jose, Arizona State at night is dangerous. Jared Jones, Penn State by 3 tutties. Bill G, go Sun Devils! AER is reminding everybody that Boise State does love Fiesta Bowls. John Dry, I give Arizona State forks up. Arizona State for the win. Laura Weiss, I can't pick Texas. 5 more seconds on the vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 71% of the voters, the PATC family, is taking Arizona State. Holy smokes. And for the 6,000th time, the PATC family has refused to pick Texas when they are in the poll. PATC family, I don't believe, has ever picked Texas in any games they are ever in. Holy smokes. The Buckeyes and the Ducks. The Buckeyes and the Ducks. Does Ohio State cover the -2.5 point spread versus Oregon? If you vote yes, you're taking the Buckeyes. If you vote no, you're taking the Ducks. The voting begins now. Gerald Jones, Mr. Buckeye. Yes, we're winning by a couple scores. Expedition Greg, another Buckeye. Ohio State has won the last 4 Rose Bowl. It has been in. Vox Quindaro, Mr. Rock Chalk Jayhawk. We hate him when talking about the Longhorns. Dave B. Horns down, Mr. BYU Cougar. Jose believes Ryan Day's job is on the line. Well, let me ask you a question, Jose, and anybody else who wants to answer in the chat room. Let's say the Buckeyes get blown out, and let's say he does lose his job. Who would be the next head coach of the Buckeyes? Who do you think it will be if Ryan Day gets blown out on Saturday? 5 more seconds on the vote. 5 more seconds on the vote. Vox Quindaro, we also hate Ohio State. Vox is starting to sound much like the fat guy of Minnesota. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 53% says no. Oregon Ducks is the choice. Oregon Ducks is the pick for PATC family. Holy smokes. Antoine Coates. Ryan Day's not getting fired, but Lanning is the better coach. Rabel. Okay, here we go. We got one more game for you guys to pick here. One more game, and then I'm going to make my predictions. Then we're going to go into the Holy Smokes Theater. And then we're going to go to your phone calls. All right? I thank you all for joining us on this Sunday evening. College football's peak around the corner. I appreciate you all coming on in. Notre Dame versus Georgia. The Bulldogs, favored by 1. Moo! Here we go. Here we go. Does Georgia cover -1 point spread versus the Notre Dame Fighting Irish? Georgia -1. If you vote yes, you're taking Georgia. If you vote no, you're taking Notre Dame. The voting begins now. Wow, it's a landslide. It's an absolute landslide. I'm absolutely shocked 5 more seconds on the vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 73% says no. The Fighting Irish is taking this home according to the PATC geniuses. My goodness. My goodness. The Architect says the Dogs will roll. A surprising take by PATC. I agree. No Beck, no win. All good. 720. Okay, guys. I got to tell you. Well, you know what? I'm not going to give it away. Let's just start here. Again, now after watching you guys make your predictions, watching the PATC geniuses in the family vote, I'm feeling a sense of calm. I'm suddenly feeling confident. After going 3-1 in the first round of the playoffs, and I was 3-0 last year in the playoffs, I have correctly predicted the spread. I've correctly taken the correct team 6 out of the last 7 playoff games. I do feel that Greg the Gold is here. Suddenly, I feel a whole lot of confidence. I don't think I can lose. 0-4 on deck. 4-0 is a coming. Let's go. Greg the Gold is on a roll. Lock, 5-star locks up and down. Okay, here we go, guys. Penn State, Boise State. Penn State versus Boise State. Is Cinderella knocking on the door? Is it going to happen? This game? No, it's not. No, it is not. Unfortunately, it's not happening this game. And I agree with the PATC family. Penn State is going to win this by more than 11 points. Boise State has been a great story. They played Oregon tough at the beginning of the year, but I don't think Maddox can make the plays as the Broncos quarterback. He's not going to be able to make the plays that they need him to make in order for the Broncos to score enough points to stay within 11 points. I think Nittany Lions absolutely roll. I've got Penn State. Texas, Arizona State. Texas is favored by 12.5 points. 12.5 points. Penn State is favored by 11 over Boise. Texas is favored by more over the Big 12 champion Arizona State. Is Cinderella knocking on the door? Is Cinderella knocking on the door? Yes, she is. Not only is Cinderella knocking on the door, she's coming through those doors. She's getting the slipper on her foot. She's going to ride the carriage all the way to the semifinals. Arizona State defeats the Texas Longhorns plus 380, plus 380. They're not only covering, that is not even in question. They are going to win. Now, you're saying, hold on, Greg. Hold on. Hold on. You're crazy. Look, I have been a Texas believer. I have been. I still believe in their defense. I still believe. But I think, and I know I'm going to get trashed. I get it. I'm going to get trashed. But after watching, I rewatched the Texas and Clemson game. Clemson, you got to tip your cap to Texas. You got to tip your cap to Wisner, to Jadon Blue, to the tight end Gunnar Helm. You got to tip your cap to all that stuff. All of it. But Clemson did not have the horses. They knew they didn't have the horses. After watching that game over, it was, that's not what's going to happen here. That is what is going to happen in this game here. It isn't. This is going to be tight. And I got a feeling that Sam Levitt is going to make a couple more plays than Quinn Ewers. I think Golden is going to drop a pass. I think Arizona State's going to hit Quinn Ewers. I think Cam Scatterbo is going to be breaking tackles for the very first time in a Longhorn game. They're going to be missing tackles, and they're going to be looking at each other. The Longhorns are going to be looking at each other. No, Cinderella, unfortunately for the Boise State Broncos, the slipper is not going to fit your foot. But it is going to fit the foot of the Arizona State Sun Devils. Arizona State is not only going to cover this game, they're going to win this game. They're going to be playing the winner of Ohio State and Oregon in the semifinals. There is your Cinderella. And that is why we started the title, Cinderella Time Has Come in CFP, question mark, exclamation point. It has. It has come. It is a coming. It's a coming Saturday. I'm sorry. It's a coming Wednesday. That's not the first time I've done that. It won't be the last time. Wednesday, Arizona State defeats the Texas Longhorns. By the way, Texas was one of the 4 teams that I thought could win it. It was Georgia, Texas, Notre Dame, and Oregon. But suddenly I'm eliminating the Texas Longhorns. Am I crazy? We're going to find out on Wednesday, but I don't think I'm crazy. I don't think I am crazy. The Sun Devils are hot enough to burn up any Greg the Cooler residue that might be inflicted on the Arizona State Sun Devils. So I got Arizona State. I think it's going to be a shocker. I think they win. I think it's going to be the story of the quarterfinals. And I think this is also another big story. The Buckeyes in Oregon. Now, you all took Oregon in this. And at the start of the season, I had Oregon and Georgia in the national championship game. That was my prediction at the beginning of the season. I cannot be, I'm not going to hold to that. I can't. What the Buckeyes have done is the reverse of what I thought was going to happen. I thought they were going to have their lights on at the end of the season and then in the Big Ten championship game, and then the lights would dimmer and Oregon would beat the Buckeyes in the playoffs. That's what I said at the beginning of the season. But I think it's the opposite. Now I believe the lights have turned on for Ohio State, and Oregon isn't going to be able to quite keep up. I've got Ohio State. So that is the first game that we disagree on. Is it going to be the only game we disagree on here in the quarterfinals? I've got the Buckeyes winning by more than 2.5 points. The Jeremiah Smith era is here. I saw Trayvon Henderson have an extra juice in his step. The light has come on for the Buckeyes. Oregon has been spectacular. They deserve the number 1 seed in the playoffs. Of course they can win this game. Of course they can. But I think the Buckeyes take them. I've got the Buckeyes winning, covering. Oh, boy. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Every fiber of my being, I want to take Georgia. But and this is not even a shot at Gunnar Stockton. This is not a shot at Gunnar Stockton. But how does a quarterback in his position go against that Notre Dame defense? I don't know how he does it. But I've got another question. How healthy is Jeremiah Love? Jeremiah Love is the dude. He is the juice. He is the player for Notre Dame. Is Jeremiah Love okay? I really do not know. So this is... If Jeremiah Love is not 100%, Jadarian Price is an incredible backup, but he has not been in the position where he's needed to have the rock 25 times a game. Like if Jeremiah Love can't go, Jadarian Price is going to have to be that dude. And then Riley Leonard's going to probably have to have a few more design plays than he usually has. So forth, so on. It changes the complexity of the game. So this is what I'm going to do. I cannot explain how. I cannot explain how it's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen. Maybe by a fight in Irish special teams, another one of bad plays of the special teams. But I got Georgia winning this game. I've got the Bulldogs somehow winning at the end. Just don't ask me how. I'm having a, this is the tough, of course, the line is by 1 point, right? The line is 1 point. Vegas, this isn't a, this, I got Georgia. I got Georgia. So, the PATC family has Penn State, Arizona State, Oregon, Notre Dame. I've got Penn State, Arizona State, Ohio State, and Georgia. So we are different on 2 games of the 4. My playoff record is 3-1 against the spread. You geniuses out there are 2-2. Let's get to the Holy Smokes Theater. And then we're going to get to your phone calls, and you can talk about the quarterfinal games. You can talk about the playoffs. You can talk about the bowl games. You can talk about all the portal moves, new head coaches. Let me say this before we get to the Holy Smokes Theater. The Cam Ward situation at Miami. If you call it a situation. People are yeah. When it happened, I did not have an opinion on it because I really didn't know everything. I mean, I didn't know if it was planned. I didn't know if Cam Ward had a hamstring pull. I don't know if they got insurance for half the. I didn't know the particulars, and to be honest with you, I do not know the particulars anyways. Still, even today. So I still don't have a strong opinion on it. Bowl games are being treated differently than they have before. They're being treated differently by teams. They're being treated differently by players. Some players are not playing at all. Cam Ward's going to be a high top draft pick. I have no concern at all about players not playing. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with players playing, taking the money, some of these guys are getting paid by their collectives. Some of these guys are saying, no, it's not worth it because I'm a high NFL draft pick. I've got no problem with either way. This is one of the reasons why I said at the beginning of the show, you cannot take bowl results and then, at least I'm not going to, because I'm going to be consistent. I'm not going to take bowl results and say, oh, well, that team should have made the playoffs. That team shouldn't have this conference. That's hogwash, in my opinion. But I also said that bowl games are important to the players who are playing. Some of these young guys trying to catch the eye of the coaches to play next year. And these football players are playing to win, and the institution, the coaches are playing to win, and the fans are playing, they want their team to win. And the bowl games have some importance to them, but not like what they used to be. So my final take on that is, I think it's odd. Now, odd isn't necessarily bad. it's odd to play a half a game. It really is. If you're going to play half a game, you're risking your body and limb and your health for half a game. So you're risking. And you're saying to you guys, I'm in there with you, I'm playing. And then, but again, I really don't have these like, Cam Ward, you quit on your team. And I'm not saying that at all. I do think it's odd. I don't think we're going to be seeing much of that. I think if you play, you play. But the oddest part of this whole story is, now let me know in the chat room if something has changed. Maybe I haven't seen the latest. Maybe there's an update to this. And I probably missed it. But when they asked the coach Cristobal at press conference, he completely avoided the question, was this set up at the beginning of the game? Was he going to leave at halftime? Was he not going to leave? Was it set up? You would think that'd be an easy question to answer. So that was odd to me as well. I think going forward, you're going to see all sorts of arrangements. Playing a half a game and then sitting out second half. We'll probably see that, but probably not. I think that's going to be rare. I think if you play, you know, most guys are going to play, right? If you're going to play, you play through the game. You in a close game and have, especially if you're one of the important dudes on the team, you play to win. You know, and I think if you don't want to play because of really good reasons, lots of good reasons. In other words, you're going to make a lot of money in the NFL, and that's generational wealth. You're going to be taking care of your family for generations. If you decide not to play in a bowl game, then that is fine as well. Playing half the game is kind of odd to me. It really is. Anyway, that's just my take on it. Okay, Holy Smokes Theater. Holy Smokes Theater. Early spring meeting. Early spring meeting. Hot bubble of action. It hasn't been reported on, unless it's been reported on since we have come on live. And that probably isn't the case. There's a whole bunch we do not know. There is some that we do know that we cannot say at this time. But again, as you know how this works, we give more and more information as time goes on. Hot bubble of action is going to happen in what we have been told the early spring. There's going to be a meeting. The last time we used the phrase the hot bubble of action, we were not even able to say the word meeting. We said it on early April of 2023, where we said something was going to happen between April 28th and May, I think May 17th or something. We knew the date was May 7th. We knew that the Big 12 was planning to meet with Colorado on May 7th, which was a Sunday. We knew what city it was in. We knew everything about it. And then afterwards, we even knew how long the meeting took, but we still couldn't call it a meeting. On May 8th, we came on here and said the Pac-12 just got a shot in the solar plexus and it was hanging by a thread. May 8th, live show 2023. We still couldn't say the word meeting, not until Pete Thamel said it a month later in an article. I'm able to say meeting on this one. Hot bubble of action. Hot bubble of action, meeting. Now, how much more can I say? Early spring. So therefore, and we might take an L on this part. There is reasons to believe that this meeting will take place sometime on or after March 21st. That's the start of spring, right? And in the title of the spring, it says early spring meeting. So sometime after March 21st. If it happens before then, we'll take an L. If it happens in the summer, we'll take an L. But there's reasons to believe it's going to happen in early spring. What is this meeting about? It's similar. Now, this is where I got to be careful. But it is similar to the meeting previous in Dallas, Texas. Not quite. Similar to the meeting in Dallas, Texas, where they just had, where the two potential Super League organizations presented their idea to some Big 12 presidents and athletic directors, to some ACC presidents and athletic directors, to some representatives of schools in the Big 12 and the ACC. That happened in Dallas, Texas, a couple of months ago. There is going to be another meeting. Directed in large part by an institution in the Big 12. We believe, we have a really good reasons to believe that ACC schools will show up at this meeting. So it's not a conference-sponsored meeting. But the meeting is the leadership of a Big 12 institution is going to push this to happen. In this meeting, the agenda is going to, they're going to carve out an agenda, they're going to carve out a schedule. Not a schedule with games, a schedule for the rest of the year on where they want to end up by, not the end of the year, but by the end of the year. We'll just say that. There is information that we know about, and it's going to come out, about the end. They want to have some decisions made by the end of this year. And I'm not even, this isn't like by end of December 31st, 2025. It's going to be before that. Sometime in this calendar year, they want to have some decisions made on the direction if they are going to incorporate private equity in a higher level than a school level. There are proponents within the Big 12 and the ACC that want to push this thing as far and as hard as they possibly can. There are allies over the river between the two conferences. There is going to be a meeting. And I think that is going to come out probably in sometime early next year. There's going to be a meeting because there is a particular I'm going to say it this way. There is a handful of schools that want to push so very hard for this. And they don't happen to be all in the same conference. And I'm going to say this. Brett Yormark knows this. Commissioner Phillips knows this. And this is the leverage that these schools across the river from each other, this is the leverage that they are using to say, hey, we have got to look at these options. We got to do them at a conference level. But there are schools in both conferences that are saying, no, we're not interested. And that's not good enough for some Big 12 institutions and some ACC institutions. If you want to use politics verbiage in this, this is a bipartisan issue. Bipartisanship that are against private equity at a big scale and schools bipartisan in support of large-scale investment of private equity. There's cross-pollination going on here. There's going to be another, and here's the key part. There's going to be another meeting, and it's not going to be kept quiet. The first one wasn't. Even though it did not have all ACC participants, even though it did not have all Big 12 participants, it leaked like a sieve. Certain reporters had it. This one is going to leak like a sieve. It's already leaking. Well, it leaked to us. I'm okay to say certain things. This is a game of leverage. This is a game of absolute everybody. I'm telling you, the whole North Carolina in this dissolution theory, that's a game of leverage. They say, hey, we could do this. We could press the nuclear button. They probably can't. It's very risky. They probably won't. But hey, that they're using all that leakage for leverage. Stuff going on with the ESPN, ACC media deal. But this meeting, wait until a national reporter writes about it. And then And I'm hoping, and I think it's going to be really, I think it's going to be, I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty confident that here at Peek Around the Corner, we are going to be able to continue giving you the latest information in the Holy Smokes Theater on this. This is why we started the Holy Smokes Theater on this story months ago now. Because this is going to be the story of 2025. There is a high degree of differing opinions on this huge issue. Brett Yormark has a lot of influence, a lot of power, a lot of connections. And thus far, as we've been told, and as we did our last live show in the Holy Smokes Theater, he's not been able to get the herd, the Big 12. He's not been able to get them all on board yet. But let me also say this. I'm going to make it clear here. This next meeting, this is not a Brett Yormark sponsored meeting. This is not a Jim Phillips sponsored meeting. These are institutions within the Big 12, institutions within the ACC, and big money, big money. That's what this meeting is going to be. If you want to call it meeting number 2, that's fine. But it is going, we believe, as I won't be wasting my time this evening, it's going to happen. We don't have the date. We don't believe there is a date. So the next question is, well, then how in the hell why are you so sure this is going to happen? One of the reasons why no one is touching this yet, like reporters and all that, is because there's not a date. Remember, they're going to wait for the date. They're going to be told people are planning to go, and then they're going to get the go-ahead to report it. This is college football's Peek Around the Corner. We can tell you, we're giving you that peek, that there's rumbling, bumbling, stumbling. There's rumblings. There are people talking. The expectations, there's going to be an early spring meeting. So there it is. This story is not only not going away, but it's going to get even more cloak and daggerish. Cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger. At the very highest level. Now, if Brett Yormark is successful in getting everyone on board, if there's a plan that he can execute on and get everybody on board and then suddenly this meeting probably won't occur, right? Or if something crazy happens in the ACC. But right now, I would put my chips in the middle of the table. There's going to be an early spring meeting, from what we've been told, with a few more details that we cannot say at this point in time. We will be able to in the future. An early spring meeting. Big money is going to be at that meeting. Big money. Okay. I'm going to take your phone calls. You can yell at me about my predictions. Penn State, Arizona State, Ohio State, and Georgia. Those are my picks against the spread. You can yell at me for that. You can yell at me on my takes at the bowl games. You can yell at me for any reason you want to yell at me. Give me a call. The phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. And again, I appreciate the incredible generosity of Mr. Vox Quindaro, Curtis Anthony Carlson being a member for 9 months. Can you imagine a Spartan listening to a Golden Gopher for 9 months? Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Stormy Cyclone and Mr. Hoosier, Ricky Tungate. Appreciate it.
Call from
Tristan 5.
Tristan is on the line. The floor is yours.
Hey, Greg. Thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
Listen, I'm calling in to further support my pick from earlier in the year when I was saying Ohio State was going to win it all.
Yeah.
I think they looked terrific against Tennessee.
Yes.
And whatever hangover they might have had from that Michigan game is gone.
You might be right.
Their offensive line is running really well right now. And I'll tell you what, I like them in the rematch against Oregon. And I don't think the winner of the Texas-Arizona State game will be able to stand up to them if they get by Oregon. They're still my pick to win it all, Greg. And I'll tell you something else.
Yeah.
I think Notre Dame might very well surprise Georgia.
I would not be shocked at all. I would not be surprised at all. If I knew that Jeremiah Love was 95%, I would have picked the Irish tonight. And you guys know how much I love the Bulldogs. I think they're a great football team, even with all their drops in the wide receiver room, even with the Gunnar Stockton situation. I still think that Georgia is a big-time national champion contender. I think they can win it all. But I would have went against the Bulldogs if I knew that Jeremiah Love was okay. I've searched the interwebs. I've talked to people. I've sent text messages. I sent text messages to those that you probably guys know that do Notre Dame football YouTube channels. Nobody knows how Jeremiah Love is. None of the beat writers know. It's scaring me I can't do it, so I had to take Georgia.
Yeah, I hear you. But I'll tell you, I think this long layoff that Georgia's had ever since the Texas game, Notre Dame had the perfect scenario with Indiana, and that was they got to play a game. They didn't have to go too deep into the X's and O's to pull out a win there. They kept it pretty basic. I think they're going to have some surprise X's and O's for Georgia. And that long layoff, I think they're going to be a little bit rusty, especially with the backup quarterback. And Notre Dame's defense, I understand, Greg, but I'll tell you, I think that defense is still going to do really well against Georgia. And I think they're going to surprise them. I really do. I think they're just due for a postseason loss. And I'll tell you what, man, I think it's going to be Penn State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and I kind of feel like Texas is going to beat Arizona State. But I'll tell you what, I know some folks going to that Peach Bowl. I live here in Atlanta, and they're cheering for Arizona State. So
yeah, I bet.
So anyway, hey, listen. So did we get a satisfactory answer on the whole drones question?
No, I haven't. Not to my liking. Nope. No.
Yeah, it's still kind of a mystery.
No.
Well, that story's been replaced here recently by the whole Panama, Greenland, and Canada thing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I will point out that President-elect Trump mentioned on Christmas Day that there were Chinese folks in Panama, and that was a problem for him. And, Greg, I'm just going to remind you, I called in earlier and I said I had heard rumors on the interwebs about Chinese military being present in Canada. I'm just going to remind you of that. That might end up coming into play here somehow.
All righty, sir.
All right. Hey, listen, you take care and keep up with good work.
You got it. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
Beautiful. All righty. Open line 763-260-1333. I don't think that this is not about breaking up. Hold on.
Call from
Immaculate.
Immaculate. Can you hold on for just 1 second?
Of course.
I don't think this is a Michael Smith. So basically, Big Money wants to break the ACC and the Big 12 into parts, buy up whoever is on board, the scatter rest to the. No, I don't think that's what this is. I don't think this is break. No, I haven't gotten that sense at all. That I mean, you got two Gores. I don't think that's what this is. I think this is, and again, there's only, I think there is big money that wants to come in at conference levels, and if both conferences do it, it might be easier for both of them to do, like both of them, to get everybody on board. ACC's having difficulties because you got two schools suing the conference. There's a lot of different factions. I don't think this is about breaking up some of the ACC to join some of the Big 12. That's not what this is. This is big money trying to possibly solve some of the questions and issues within the ACC and the Big 12, and to help them solve those issues, and then to bring them both onto this idea of private equity at a conference level for both conferences. That is as far as I'm going to push it tonight. But Michael Smith, so I just wanted to make sure people didn't think that was what I was communicating. Go ahead, Immaculate. I appreciate the your patience. Iowa and Mizzou, the floor is yours.
Yeah, that game. I'm not really looking forward to it, if I'm being honest. And here's why. This kind of goes into what I was mainly calling in about, and this is about bowl games. And Ferentz and his staff are very much, they do things this way, and that's, there are those that try to use their bowl games as a way to kind of have some flash and some showmanship and get some talk about them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then there are those that use it purely as an opportunity for next season.
Yep.
And it's hard because people kind of want to, like, well, what is it? This one is like, it's not. It's all of the above. It's per program. But they've been doing this for a long time, because if you get to go to a bowl game, you get extra practices.
Yep.
And those that don't go to those bowl games don't get those. And to most fans, they might think, who cares? Well, it's a big deal. Because especially when in these practices, they start playing more with the guys that they think they're going to be playing next year. The guys that are just in it for a bowl game and then they're out, a lot of times they don't even participate in all those practices. And this is about Miami, and here I am. I'm about ready to support Miami. But the fact that he even played a half and that's it is probably due to the fact that they have to sell tickets for these games. And if you have yourself a Heisman candidate on your team and you had kind of a rough season and you're trying to get people to go to these games, because then that money comes back around and comes back to the schools, you kind of got to do some things to make people feel like, all right, well, we got something. And that's what the first half turns into. You got both teams kind of playing for it. It gives people that little exhibition of a real game. And then you get into the second half, and that's coach's time. That's coach's time to really start to figure out what they got for next year. And that's kind of how I feel about these bowl games, is it gives you a good shot at what you're going to have next year. And I look back at Iowa, Tennessee. Iowa got smoked. Iowa had a bad year this year. They fell back. Tennessee, when they put in their young stars, they played real well. Boom, they're in the CFP this year. So when I see this Miami thing and I see the half played and the half not, well, I mean, that's coach can't come out and say that, right? I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm talking crazy here, but
no, you're not talking crazy. And again, I don't really have I don't have a strong opinion. Like, for example, if it is about next season, and it's okay if it is, absolutely, man, absolutely. Then, like, how much, so Cam Ward played the first half, that means he got a lot of reps in practice, right? Maybe all those reps should have went to Emory Williams. Or it's sort of like I've got no problem with. I really don't have a problem with it. I just think it's odd. I think it's odd for the. It is, and
it is.
In other words, if Cam Ward would have went back in the game, I would have disagreed with that, because now you're taking a guy who's, out of the flow of the game. Now you're really putting him in danger, right? And there's things I don't know. The Miami offensive line, did somebody get hurt? There's just, so I don't have a strong opinion. I think it's odd. I think the whole thing came off in the way that Mario Cristobal did not answer the questions, but maybe there's a reason for it, but I don't know. And again, Miami, I don't know who. It's interesting because Miami has been leaning on Cam Ward the whole season. He's been incredible, absolutely incredible. And then when he didn't play, I was hoping that Emory Williams would complete. I mean, he didn't look very good, and I don't know. The whole thing's kind of odd to me.
Well, here's something to think about. They kind of fell off a little bit at the end of the season, right? So that's kind of safe to say for Miami.
Yeah, I mean, they had close wins during the season, and then they had close losses at the end, and
yep,
that's what happens when you don't have a defense. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just kind of leaves a bad impression. And, there's a big amount of money difference. When you're a top draft pick opportunity like that, there's a big money difference between these positions. And, if kind of the last thing people are thinking about is you didn't really take your team in that final little bit in order to get you to that tournament, I could kind of see how he might want a chance to show, to kind of change the narrative a little bit.
Okay, and then I'm fine with that too, but then that would mean he'd play the whole game. Like, I don't know what he, like, I have no, first of all, I really
Could
don't
I finish
have
that?
Like, that's where like, I have no problem with Cam Ward not playing at all, right? Because it's like, it's, why, it's his decision not to play at all. That's
yes and no. I mean, not to play at all, yes.
Yeah, it's like, that's fine. I mean, a lot of
not
people
to play
are
the whole
doing
game,
that
though.
for good reason, man. You got generational wealth looking at you, and Miami winning the game. But then play half the game. When you play half the game and then you sit out because, that was the plan, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, can I address that?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. as you're saying, for them to opt out of the game, that's their choice.
Yeah.
But once you opt in to play, coach decides. Coach decides who's in and who's out. And as I said, like these guys, a lot of times they're now thinking about next year, right? Okay, because Coach Cristobal knows he has a job. He's going next year, right?
Yeah.
But depending upon how next year goes, he doesn't know after that. So now his mind is, I got to figure out next season. He doesn't his boy. He's already going top 10 draft pick. He's like he doesn't. For him, it doesn't really matter as much. But for Ward, a difference between 10th and like 5th can mean a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So he's trying to show that. So it's a compromise. It seems weird to everyone watching, but the compromise is, okay, you get to play your half, show yourself off. The second half, and both teams are probably doing this. There probably wasn't even an agreement beforehand by the two coaches because they're both going to want to do the same thing, play for next season as well. So the second half becomes an entirely different game.
Yeah.
So if Ward was to go back out there and play that game, he might be playing against the other team's second and third stringers, and it looks great. And I think most of the pros are going to look at it and go, yeah, we're not even looking at that. We're just looking at when Iowa State had their top guys in. So it becomes kind of pointless at that point if both teams are just going to start throwing in guys to figure out what they got for next year. And that sucks for fans. Like, because you're looking at this thinking these two teams who want to see a full game, when really just the first half is that game.
Yeah, and that's I also think it sucks for Emory Williams, to be honest, because if I'm Emory Williams, if it's about me showing what I can do for next year, I want all the reps, I want all the practices, I want all the number one guys in the first half. I want everything, right? Instead of getting the second half, the twos and the threes are in, and I didn't get all the reps. Now, on the other hand, for my beloved Minnesota Golden Gophers, as a selfish fan, which I am, I want Max Brosmere to play, but then I want Drake Lindsay to come in. But then I want Max to come back in, and then Drake to come back in, then Max. So I want everything perfect. I want everything laid out because I'm a selfish Gopher fan. So anyway, so I'm being what's the word? I'm being hypocritical. That's what I'm being.
You want it all. You want your cake and you want to eat it too.
Yes. Yeah.
But that's just my take on it. Yeah. And it like I said, it varies between teams, their situations. Yeah. What the coach's situation is at the school, and what coach decides at game time is what goes. So that's why, like, when he goes into the game now, it's when I see him only playing for a half, that to me feels like a compromise between the player and the coach. But beyond that, kind of interested in this theory of yours. If I could touch upon that real quick, and then I'll get out of here so someone else can get on here and talk to you. But I got to tell you, man, it kind of feels like the way it's coming out, because, this is how it works, right? There's layers.
Yeah.
And you're one of those layers in the media. You are, whether or not you'll admit it or not. And there's a way this game is played, and kind of watching this and learning from it for quite a while. And when these leaks start to come out like this, and this is more to everyone else, you know this. I know you know this. But you mentioned too, there is an intention, there is an effect to be had to where the surface story isn't necessarily always the story. Am I making sense here so far? I don't want to go too crazy correct. Here.
And you are correct.
Okay. And so what happens is when these type of things come out, it's about the effect that it could have on other parties. And so my thoughts are, when I'm hearing this, I'm listening to you talking about, okay, all right. There's certain things that two particular commissioners don't want to be directly linked to, and they realize they have to maybe deal with two other commissioners who've got a little bit more power on the big side. But, if some of their schools are doing this all on their own, and I kind of got my finger quotes going here, it doesn't come back on them. But at the same time, it says to those conferences, okay, You can't just completely write the whole situation all on your own without any input from us, or else we're going to have no choice but to just open the floodgates. Does that make any sense at all?
Yes.
Because
yes,
yeah.
it does. Yep.
Yeah. So that's my take, is like, this is kind of a shot across the bow of the bigger ship. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You might be the bigger ship, you could take us out, but we can cause some damage, and you don't want that damage to happen, because once we do this, you're going to feel the pressure. And those conferences definitely don't want that. They are the control freaks, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
So it's very interesting that this is happening, and for them to plan it out so far in advance means if you're hearing about it,
yes,
those other parties have heard about it too. So that's where I'm going to leave it at.
You are hitting on things.
I don't want to hit too much.
No, yeah, you are more correct than you know. Yes. Yes.
I don't want to hit too much, and I'm really kind of interested to see what other people think about this.
And I
that's
don't
my
like
take
it
for
when
people.
you're correct, because you're an evil Hawkeye. So.
Well, what I'm saying is we're probably going to lose this game, so that should make you happy about if I'm correct, right?
Nah, I don't root against Big Ten teams in the bowl games. I just don't root for them, because Iowa's different, because they're a little bit more evil than, but take for example, Illinois and South Carolina, right? I'm supposed to be rooting for Illinois. I'm not rooting for Illinois. No way, Jose. I'm not rooting for Illinois. I hope they both lose somehow, some way. Alrighty, man.
I don't know. Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough.
Yeah.
But like I said, Iowa I don't think they're really playing to win this game. I think they're playing for next season.
Sure.
They've got to do some stuff next season, so I'm not expecting them to be playing for a win, so I don't have high hopes. We'll see. All right, man. Always good to talk to you, though, and really appreciate what you bring to us.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Hawkeye. And PJ Fleck, he coaches to win these bowl games. He does. He takes them so seriously.
From
Big Ten brother.
Big Ten brother.
To accept, press 1.
Big Ten brother, thanks for calling, sir. I do appreciate it. The floor is yours.
What's going on? Hey, let me run this by you with this Miami thing.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think the chances are that the bowl committee, whoever, the networks, the bowl committee, went to Miami and said, "Listen, is your quarterback going to play, or is he going to sit out?" And then those guys were like, "Well, what's the difference?" He goes, "Well, if he plays, we'll invite you to the bowl game. If he doesn't play, we're going to go ahead and move on." Kind of like the Florida State deal last year.
Yeah,
if he plays,
I don't think so. I think that was. I think that bowl game was pretty bolted in by the placement of Iowa State in the Big 12 and Miami in the conference stand. I think that game. I think we all kind of knew that game was going to happen if Iowa State lost the Big 12 championship. I don't think that played into it.
Oh, so you think it was already locked in ahead of time? Like you finished.
Yes,
I got you. I'm not sure what the tie-ins with Iowa State and Miami, but I just figured I could see these bowl games now. Look at the position they're in, Greg. You got the playoffs, so the best 12 teams supposedly the best 12 teams are going to be taken right off the bat, and then you got to pick from 13 on. But then they're telling you, well, our 8 draft choices aren't going to play either. Now you got to put together bowl games off that. I mean, what are you going to do? Let's say who finished like 17th. Say it's Ole Miss. Let's just say Ole Miss finishes 17th or 18th. You go to them and say, "Hey, listen, we'd like to invite you to the Weed Eater Bowl here in Arizona, but we have to know how many of you guys are. Well, none of our seniors are going to play, and all of our draft choices are sitting out." Well, how do you make a decision off that? They just went from 18th to 40th.
Yeah.
That's the problem I have with the bowl games. is there you don't know you just don't know what's going to show up that day.
Yeah, you don't. I'm hoping that when we get into the era of contracts, where these players are signing a contract, that they're getting paid throughout the season, and then there is a payment, even a balloon payment, somewhat, if they're healthy enough and they play in that bowl game, then they get paid more money. Right now, I still don't think it's set up that way. So, I want to make it perfectly clear. I have no problem with players opting out of bowl games. I have no problem with them opting in. It's their decision. I get it. There's a lot to it. And Big Ten brother, as you know, because you played the sport, there's a lot of people nicked up, a lot of people injured that we never hear about, right? A guy with a sore foot. He's like, well, I'm just not going to play. We can't blame him for not playing. So there's a lot we don't know. So go ahead.
That's why I just make this point up, because that's a great point you just brought up. Here's the issue that you have. All we hear about is in that last game of the season or the bowl game, all we hear about is a guy that tore up his ACL. Like, oh, that's a shame he tore up his ACL.
Yeah.
You know how many guys, for every guy that tore up an ACL, you know how many guys show up at the combine, the last 2 games of the bowl game, with a sore shoulder that's not healing correctly, a knee that it's popping, it doesn't feel right, my foot. That's the issues that nobody hears about, because they don't report that guy that a month later goes to the combine and he can't do some of the stuff because of what happened in that last game. That's what guys are really afraid of is, well, suppose I sprain my ankle, I can't run for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Boom. That's a problem.
Yeah.
All right, Fred.
All right,
that's
man.
it.
Appreciate it.
All right, bye-bye.
Beautiful.
Bye-bye.
Open line 763-260-1333.
Call from
Steve,
Mr. Bearcat Steve, the floor is yours.
For anybody interested, next Sunday night on ESPN, there's a college football program trying to win their 14th national title.
Yes.
Not talked about enough. It was a dynasty. There's a couple coaches that won bowl games that played for that team, Mount Union. Jason Candle and oh my goodness, how am I forgetting Iowa State's coach?
Campbell?
Give me his name, bro. Yeah. They both played at Mount Union. The coaching tree at Mount Union's unbelievable, both in the NFL and in college football. And they're 14th national title, and they haven't won one in a while. They're on a little bit of a dry spell, so we'll see what they can do. As far as the bowl games, Greg, don't tell me, because I've watched. I'm nutty enough that I watch most of the bowl games. Don't tell me that the kids that are out there, the players that are out there playing don't care, because they play their asses off.
They sure do. Yeah.
I've got no qualms about the guys that don't want to play. I understand why they don't want to play. They got a good reason not to want to play. But the guys that are playing want to play, and the guys that are coaching want to coach.
Yep. And they're trying to win. They're trying to win.
Yep. And something that wasn't talked about enough, and I was switching back and forth because there were several games yesterday. Something I got a huge kick out of was the enthusiasm that Snoop Dogg had with both teams in that bowl game and their bands and their fans. It was unbelievable. And truthfully, I think we need more of that in college football sometimes. Not a sideshow, but a true, genuine
passion.
Yep. And he was into it. And it wasn't all about him. It was about the teams and the fans and the fans. And I just, that kind of struck me as cool when everybody's talking about, the bowl games this, the bowl games that, and there's good arguments on both sides. But anyhow, not much more. Looking forward to New Year's Eve and New Year's and watch football then, because I think we're going to see some great games. And
I think we are. Yes.
Are the guys that are, and I haven't read many, but I've read a few, the guys who are marginal with injury problems, going to play or not going to play, could make a huge difference in these games.
Yes. Yep. Jeremiah Love is my big one. I don't know if he's. I don't know. I don't know if he's. I think he's going to play, but I don't know if he's 100. Even close to 100%. He's
correct.
He's a beast for Notre Dame. So.
Correct. And we'll see, Greg, because I told you when this whole thing came together that I wasn't big on teams getting buys. We'll see if the buys help them heal, help them game plan, give them that extra week, or if it sometimes, as you see, they kind of, I don't know the best way to put it, lose their rhythm a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how these four teams that got the buys, come out and play.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So,
yeah.
Anyhow, Greg, not much more. Have a good evening.
All right, sir. Appreciate it. Great call, sir.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Bye.
Thank you, Bearcat Steve.
Yep. See ya.
Good point. Good point. We got the first 4 games, playoff games, being played at a home campus. All right? Now, it just so happens that 4 home teams won. And some people lost their complete minds 4 minutes into the first game without realizing that we're doing something different here. Home and away home games, playoff games. And now we're doing something new again. We got 4 playoff teams who had a first round bye. So we don't, we'll just see what happens, and that might have some impact on future playoff format, or maybe not, or it might have some future impact on what we think is going to happen in the quarterfinals of next year's playoffs, because we're going to look back at this year's playoffs and the results that's going to happen this Tuesday and Wednesday. But anyways, I just can't wait. I cannot wait until we watch these games. If you're new to the channel, if you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to the channel and open up those notifications. We are going to be doing a Tuesday night watch party. Tuesday night watch party, quarterfinal playoff game number 1. Boise State Broncos playing the Penn State Nittany Lions. We are going to see if Cinderella's, if Boise State Broncos, if the slipper fits on the Broncos' hoof on the shoe. I happen to think it's Arizona State. That is Cinderella. I've got the Sun Devils not only covering, I've got them beating the Longhorns. Am I crazy? Or am I crazy like a fox? We shall see. And then we got the Buckeyes and the Ducks. Game 2 against those 2 incredible football teams. And the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Marcus Freeman, Kirby Smart, Gunnar Stockton, Riley Leonard, Frazier. versus love. We shall see. It's going to be exciting. I cannot wait. I hope you join us. I hope you join us tomorrow because we're going to be coming on live talking about college football. Keep your head on a swivel. Keep your head on a swivel. It's going to be an exciting week coming up here in college football. Until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.